Thank you very much. You have appropriately raised the right question in this first hearing. How do we improve efforts of those who are unemployed to find jobs? In that endeavor, I pledge my personal sincere interest in working with you and other members of the committee in seeking meaningful answers and in working together to help unemployed Americans prepare for and find work. After reviewing the written testimony that has been submitted for this hearing, I can see that we have different perspectives on the nature of the problem that we face and the best way to resolve it. I believe that the problem is unemployment, not the unemployed. Too many Americans remain unemployed because of a lack of work, not for their lack of wanting to work. With the average unemployment benefits nationally barely at 70% of the poverty line for a family of 4, there is little incentive to sit home rather than to seek meaningful work at a living wage. I don't believe in the blame the victim approach. After all, it's not the unemployed who gambled our economic future away on Wall Street or took huge pay packages as companies crumbled or failed to adequately oversee our financial markets. And yet it's their families that are really struggling and paying the price for the wrongs of others. As a chart that I brought shows, we have about 14 million unemployed workers, but fewer than 4 million job openings. That's why we hear one report after another of employers who post jobs being flooded with applicants. For example, I know when Delta Airlines in the fall announced that it had 1,000 flight attendant openings, that it received about 85,000 job applicants. If every job opening in America were filled this afternoon, about 11 million Americans would still not have a job. While today's unemployment claims report provides a very hopeful sign, with first-time claims dropping to the lowest level in 2.5 years, the Congressional Budget Office estimated today in the Budget Committee that unemployment will remain above 9% this year and above 8% by the end of next year. CBO also projects that only 2.5 million jobs will be created this year, leaving millions dependent on the unemployment insurance system. While our first priority must be pursuing the policies that encourage job creation, this subcommittee's immediate responsibilities focus more on what to do in the meantime for the many Americans who, through no fault of their own, have lost a job and have not been able to seek new employment. In this endeavor, our states are the laboratories of democracy. We look to them for new ways to resolve this challenge. Unfortunately, not all of these experiences are successful. With my home state of Texas, there have been some successes, and there's also an example of what happens when ideological constraints and political imperatives produce decisions that harm both employers and employees. Texas employers will be paying more because our governor insisted on some unemployed receiving less. The governor rejected $555 million in federal support for the unemployed in 2009, and Texas is now raising additional taxes on employers and incurring more public debt as a result of that. I believe that our leadership has been, number one, unexcelled in the country in damming the Economic Recovery Act, but without the billions that has been accepted in Texas, we would have a more gargantuan budget hole than the $27 billion in which our state's now enveloped. Nor would the Texas Back to Work program, about which we'll hear more from Commissioner Pauken, have been more than a shadow of itself, but for the federal funding received by Texas through the Recovery Act. During the last 2 years, over $6 billion in federally funded unemployment benefits were provided to laid-off workers in Texas. Texas has been receiving over $4 in federal unemployment funds for every dollar in federal unemployment taxes paid in the state. Last year, Texas Democrats worked to pass legislation to extend funds for the Texas Back to Work program and made several efforts to extend unemployment benefits for those across the country. Unfortunately, Senate Republicans blocked action on that. I believe that the focus, and expected the focus after all of the criticism about where the jobs would be on job creation. Unfortunately, thus far in the broader House, we have focused on health insurance reform, criticizing the United Nations, and encouraging special interest financing of presidential campaigns. I hope the broader House will move to focus on job creation now as our subcommittee continues to work on unemployment issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.